Technological advancements have made our lives increasingly comfortable, safe, and easy, and we have more opportunities and advantages available to us today than ever before. Given the high level of both opportunity and comfort, one would expect people to be happier than ever, and even more satisfied with their lives. The reality, though, is startlingly different. Instead of thriving and feeling empowered as a result of greater choices, we are deteriorating. According to the latest research, 1 in 4 Americans suffers from mental illness. The drug companies try to keep pace, with the sales of antidepressant, anti-anxiety, and mood-stabilizing drugs at record levels, and tens of millions of new prescriptions being written each year. So why are we suffering from such emotional pain and anguish? Regardless of the opportunities available to us today, a lack of self-control results in poor choices and ultimately leads to negative emotions and destructive habits. Let's take a peek behind the veil of human nature to discover the psychological dynamics at play. Body, ego, and soul. Within human beings, there are 3 inner forces that are regularly at odds with each other: the body, the ego, and the soul. In short, the body wants to do what feels good, the ego wants to do what looks good, and the soul wants to do what is good. When the alarm clock goes off in the morning, the 3 forces all battle it out. If we hit the snooze button, guess who won the first round? Doing what is easy or comfortable is a body drive. Examples of overindulgences of this force are overeating or oversleeping. In effect, doing or not doing something we know we should do or should not do, merely because of how it feels. Basically, the body just wants to escape from it all. An ego drive can run the gamut from making a joke at someone else's expense to buying a flashy car that is beyond our means. When we are motivated by ego, we do things that we believe project the right image of ourselves. These choices are not based on what is good, but on what makes us look good. The key role of self-esteem. If we cannot control ourselves and we succumb to immediate gratification and the need to keep up an image, then we feel empty inside and our self-esteem goes down. In a vicious cycle, our need to compensate for these feelings of guilt and inadequacy cause our ego to engage even more, and we become egocentric. As a result, our perspective narrows, and we see more of the self and less of the world. This makes us increasingly more sensitive and unstable, and our need to keep up a false image continues to grow. We only gain self-esteem, the central key to psychological health, when we are able to make responsible choices and do what is right. This is a soul choice, to do what is good, not what feels good or what looks good. When our soul expresses itself, keeping the body and ego in check, we rise to a higher and healthier perspective. We gain psychological strength, our self-esteem goes up, and we feel great. Winning the lottery. Indeed, research indicates that big lottery winners often lead miserable lives after their windfall. A statistically uneven number of suicides, murders, drunk driving arrests, divorces, even bankruptcies that befall winners have led to studies of a lottery curse. People find it difficult to comprehend why such misfortune follows those who suddenly become so fortunate. Since low esteem comes especially from making bad choices, instant money or fame will give those who are unaccustomed to it a wealth of ammunition to make really, really bad choices through unconstructive behavior and overindulgences that lead nowhere. Now, to be clear, our mood will inevitably fluctuate as a result of our circumstances, but our feelings of self-worth and our overall emotional well-being remains largely immune from conditions and experiences of all types, positive and negative. Logic therefore dictates that if we are in control of ourselves and act responsibly, we can never be deeply bothered by anyone or anything. We are not a casualty of anything other than our own behavior. Because nothing affects us, we affect everything. Choosing our reality. What is most fascinating is that not only do our choices determine how we feel about ourselves and our lives, but ultimately they determine how we see our world in the first place. Each circumstance is like a blank canvas until we paint the picture with our thoughts, which then give rise to our emotions. For instance, when a person acts rudely towards us, it doesn't mean anything. It only tells us that the person does not like who he is, not that there is something wrong with us. This person's words or deeds cause us to feel bad about ourselves because of our self-image. We often unconsciously look to the situation to determine how personally we should take what is happening. For example, a car cuts us off on the road, and we are curious to see what the driver looks like. Why? Because we want to see if this is someone who looks like he would do such a thing to us on purpose. A little old lady sitting in the driver's seat would not enrage us as much as a young male smoking a cigarette with music blaring from his car's open windows. This is because most of us would assume that the old lady simply didn't see our car, let alone the dashboard of her own car, while the young male did it to me on purpose, because he doesn't respect me. We assume that an event is to blame for our feelings. This is not so. The senses take in stimuli, which are then given meaning by one's thinking. Unaware of the process, a person mistakenly equates these perceptions with reality. Reality can best be described with a metaphor of the mind as a film projector. Our thoughts then become the film which the light-carrying sensory stimuli shines. Consciousness is the light which causes the images on the screen to appear as real. The meaning we assign to a situation is based on how we feel about ourselves. And unless we feel differently about ourselves, which can only come through a change in behavior by making good choices, we will not see the world differently. The defining, undeniable, unchanging truth is how we feel about ourselves and our lives. Our happiness and well-being cannot, will not ever change unless we change. If we want to change our lives, we must change our choices. We are responsible for our happiness and satisfaction with life, whether we choose to accept this or not. If we accept responsibility for our lives, then nothing can stop us. If we do not, then nothing will move us. This animation is based on the new book Real Power from Feldheim Publishers. The author, Dr. Dovid Lieberman, is an internationally recognized leader in the field of human behavior and interpersonal relationships. Techniques based on his 7 books, which have been translated into 21 languages and include 2 New York Times bestsellers, are used by governments, corporations, and mental health professionals in more than 25 countries. Discover more at www.david613.com.